What's up, Taiwan? I'm Reece with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's top security chief says China is conducting patrols near Taiwan on an almost weekly basis in an attempt to normalize military activity around the country. Rick Glauert is following the story for us from Taipei. Rick, Tsai Ming-yen made the comments during questioning by lawmakers. What else did he say?
So Taiwan's top security chief, that's Tsai Ming-yen of the National Security Bureau, he's been sounding the warning of China conducting joint combat readiness patrols around Taiwan every 7 to 10 days. He said that these usually include about 10 warplanes and 3 to 4 Navy ships. And he said this was all part of China's efforts to normalize military activity around Taiwan and part of a multi-front effort to push the country to accept its claims of sovereignty over Taiwan. Tsai also said that Taipei had been in constant communication with its international allies on whether there would be military action by Beijing, but he said there were no signs that war would break out.
Now, we know tensions have been rising between Taiwan and China following last month's incident off Kinmen that left 2 fishermen dead. Is there any indication that the dispute over the incident will be resolved?
Well, no would be the short answer. Taipei and Beijing are still at loggerheads over that deadly incident, the incident in which Taiwan Coast Guard vessel chased a Chinese vessel out of Taiwan's territorial waters. The boat capsized, leaving 2 people dead. Beijing says that Taiwan acted maliciously and that the Taiwan Coast Guard vessel rammed the Chinese fishing vessel, and the families of the victims are demanding compensation. Taipei, meanwhile, says it will wait until the outcome of its own independent investigation before it decides on whether to pay any compensation. Now, in a sign of how tense the situation still is in Kinmen, there were concerns raised over the weekend when it appeared that there was a cluster of 60 Chinese fishing vessels very close to the islands of Kinmen. That appeared to be a false alarm, but yes, tensions across the strait remain high.
Thanks, Rick. That was Rick Glauert live for us in Taipei. The anniversary of Japan's Fukushima disaster has renewed concerns among anti-nuclear advocates here in Taiwan. As newly elected lawmakers take office and soon a new president, some people are concerned Taiwan's nuclear policy may take a dangerous turn. Joyce Tseng reports.
Anti-nuclear protesters are here outside Taiwan's legislature demanding not to extend service of Taiwan's existing nuclear power plants. Taiwan's energy security has been a divisive topic for years, given that the country imports most of its energy. And some people see nuclear power as a lifeline, while others, like these protesters, believe that it's not worth the risk. Now, this protest has coincided with the 13th anniversary of the Fukushima nuclear disaster after an earthquake hit northeastern Japan back in 2011, and that serves as a reminder of just how horrific nuclear disasters can be. Now, back in 2011, what happened in Fukushima also helped boost anti-nuclear sentiments here in Taiwan. Now, it's expected that President-elect Lai Ching-te will continue on in the ruling party's path to decommission all of Taiwan's nuclear power plants by 2050. But protesters here are worried that with more opposition lawmakers wanting to bring nuclear power back, that path to a nuclear-free Taiwan will be blocked.
In Taiwan, we have 20 to 40,000 of earthquake per year. And also, we are very active orogeny, that's a mountain building. That means we have no place can stable with 300 to 1,000 years. That's the basic limitation for this kind of high radiated waste storage area. So we have no such kind of geology. That's why we should become no nuke country.
Anti-nuclear advocates here are worried because Taiwan is prone to earthquakes that people's safety cannot be guaranteed. They're also concerned because President-elect Lai has also hinted that he would consider keeping a reactor online for emergency use. Now, without nuclear power, Taiwan will have to rely more on fossil fuels to generate its electricity, not only drawing concerns for environmental reasons, but given increasing geopolitical tensions and a more aggressive China, that could leave Taiwan dangerously vulnerable to having its power shut off. Ethan Chen and Joyce Zhen in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
A group of Taiwanese lawmakers have traveled to Japan for a meeting of Asia-Pacific parliamentarians. Deputy Legislative Speaker Johnny Jiang is leading the group of 14 in the first overseas trip since Taiwan's new parliament was elected in January. They're joining the General Assembly of the Asian-Pacific Parliamentarians Union in Tokyo. The meeting will focus on climate change and disaster risk reduction. The Taiwanese delegation will also meet with Japanese politicians. A planned resort in eastern Taiwan is angering the local indigenous community. They say they were denied a voice in what happens on their own land. John Van Trieste takes a look.
A big change could be coming to Pinaski, a rural indigenous community in Taiwan's southeast. Developers are planning a 177-room resort surrounded by close to a dozen villas in the village. It means tourists could soon outnumber its some 600 residents. The land is privately owned, but only a small street separates the site from the rest of the village. And at an environmental impact hearing, community members made it clear they feel they should have a say in the matter. Though these speakers stop short of calling for the project's cancellation, they say they're frustrated that no one has consulted them, even as environmental impact assessments go forward. The developer's representative is taking a conciliatory approach. But it's done little to end frustrations, especially with the county government, which has chosen to stay out of the matter. The county says sending someone to the environmental hearing would have made it look like they were supporting the developer. Instead, they say they will remain neutral and leave the final decision to higher authorities.
我们必须充分了解双方，而且协助沟通哦。那了解之后呢，我们也会将相关的资讯转递成中央的相关所属机关来做后续的处理。
This is far from the only dispute over indigenous land and its use in Taiwan. And what's happening in this village shows that indigenous communities across the country still struggle to get a say in what happens on their land. Ryan Wu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The Philippines will build a new port in its northern Batanes Islands with help from the US. The Batanes are the closest point in the Philippines to Taiwan, sitting just about 200 kilometers away from Taiwan's southernmost tip. At a Philippine Navy event, Batanes Governor Mary Lou Keiko confirmed that US Army personnel will visit the islands in April to talk about the new facility. Keiko says the planned base aims to provide shelter for Filipino workers in Taiwan in the event of a crisis. It comes as Philippine defense officials urge the country to boost its military presence on these islands amid rising Chinese aggression in the region. For more on why the US and the Philippines are expanding their presence on these islands, reporter Jaime Ocan spoke to Philippine security analyst Aaron Matthew Lariosa.
Aaron, I want to first start by asking, what is the significance of the Batanes Islands to both the Philippines and the United States?
So Batanes is the country's northernmost territory. It is located roughly between the Philippines and Taiwan, the Luzon Strait, of which is one of the few choke points in and out of the first island chain. It is extremely important for Manila to hold on to this, especially with all the tensions going on. And there's historical precedents for Manila to be worried regarding this. The first Japanese invasion troops reached the Philippines in 1941-42, first landed in Batanes to secure that as a stepping stone for further operations in the Philippines. For the United States, a lot of the same concerns reside with the Philippines, especially since the Philippines is the oldest U.S. treaty island in the region. Moreover, from an operational value, whoever controls Batanes controls the Luzon Strait. In a potential Taiwan contingency that could lead to a lot of ramifications for either side who controls it.
Now, this facility is being labeled a civilian port, but it is being built in conjunction with the Philippines military and the U.S. Army. Do you see this being used for other purposes, maybe like a military purpose?
In the case of potential contingency, like conflict, the cross-strait conflicts, there are around 160 to 200,000 overseas Philippine workers in Taiwan doing various tasks, and it is imperative that Manila would get them out in terms of conflicts. Regarding potential military usages, recent drills, particularly last year's Balakatan, saw U.S. and Philippine troops send the HIMARS to the islands, conduct aerial assaults to land troops onto the islands. It has made the military operations we're seeing also unilaterally from the Philippines is mainly defensive, mainly because the significance of the islands. For example, southern operation to Taiwan by the Chinese. These islands would look pretty useful for them.
This trend of the United States and the Philippines working together to build these bases and facilities, is this a U.S.-led initiative, or is this more of a Philippine-led initiative?
So there's a lot of tangible benefits in a potential conflict if Batanes would stay free and open. First of all, I think we should recall that this trend is being led by Manila, while the United States is coming in. That is at the bequest of Manila. This is mostly, if anything, purely a Manila Philippine-led initiative, and we have to recognize the Philippines' agency in this. The United States is only coming in because of that, and Manila at the helm is deciding that yes, they are going to keep reinforcing.
That was our reporter Jaime Okan speaking to Aaron Matthew Lariosa, a Philippine security analyst. At least 21 people have died after floods and landslides in Indonesia's West Sumatra province. 6 people remain missing as the country's rescue agency deals with blocked roads and collapsed bridges. Torrential rain in the region has forced more than 75,000 people to evacuate. Rescue agency officials warn of additional flooding and landslides as they expect more rain in the coming days. Ramadan is underway in Gaza, but Israel has continued its assault on the enclave, dashing hopes for a ceasefire before the Islamic holy month began. Negotiations between Israel and Hamas on a deal to end the fighting have reached a deadlock. Israel has also announced plans to invade Rafah, where more than 1 million Palestinians are sheltering. US President Joe Biden warned this would be a red line for Israel. Biden's government is building a temporary port to supply aid to people in Gaza who are now facing starvation due to Israel's continued siege of the territory. But the plan has been criticized as the US remains one of Israel's strongest backers. Israel's offensive in Gaza has killed over 31,000 Palestinians since October. Foreign missions in Haiti are evacuating staff members as violence in the country intensifies. It comes after organized crime groups targeted the diplomatic area of Port-au-Prince. Haiti entered a state of emergency last week after gangs raided the country's 2 largest prisons and attacked the airport. Armed gangs control 80% of the capital. They have set fire to police stations and government buildings and are demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry. More than 15,000 people have been displaced since the state of emergency was declared. The biopic Oppenheimer has swept this year's Academy Awards, winning 7 Oscars, including Best Picture. The film's star Cillian Murphy, who won Best Actor for his portrayal of atomic bomb inventor Robert Oppenheimer, dedicated his award to the world's peacemakers. Outside, pro-Palestinian protesters calling for a ceasefire in Gaza blocked traffic, delaying the ceremony. Several of the show's attendees wore red pins echoing the protesters' appeal.
The Palestinian protests shut down the Oscars tonight. Humanity wins.
A biologist at Taiwan's National Tsinghua University has won the country's top research award for women in science. Professor Yu Ju Sun was recognized for her research in membrane proteins, which can help in the treatment of disorders like dementia. The awards, hosted by beauty brand L'Oreal Taiwan, are meant to encourage and celebrate women in the scientific community.
成为女性而为荣，我在清华已经20多年了，所以这个奖对我来说，好像终身成就奖。
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we take you to Argentina to see the oldest cave paintings in South America, dating back 8,200 years. I'm Reece. Take care and see you next time.